So good afternoon. We are at the end of our rundown around the food of the plague and of the war. Today we will go back to the plague, speaking about an Italian novel written by Alessandro Manzoni in 1827, I Promessi Sposi. This novel is the first historic novel in Italian literature, and it's super famous and everyone studies it at school. It doesn't really speak about food, but speaks a lot about hunger, which is sort of one of the main characters of the novel, we could say, because comes out all the time. We're speaking about this novel because there are many references to the food and to hunger and how hunger changed men's attitudes, making richer people more and more arrogant and poorer people more angry. We're talking about this recipe because in the second chapter, at a certain point, La Perpetua enters the kitchen bringing a big cabbage. And in fact, we think that this was the beginning of the preparation of a plate that is still quite famous in the area of Bergamo, that is called Capu. The word Capu comes out from Capone in Italian Caven. So it's food that was prepared as other food we've been talking about in a time of lack of ingredients. So the idea was to pretend there was some meat inside. In fact, there was no meat or just a few leftovers and of meat or animal grease. In this case today we're going to prepare it in a vegetarian version, which I think is more friendly for you, and it will be quite interesting anyway. Why am I talking about this dish? Because it's still very famous in the area of Bergamo, which I think almost every one of you might know from the news in the recent months, unfortunately, because of the COVID pandemic. In Bergamo there were many people dying, and you might have seen like dramatic images on TV. And with these images and images of hope, I wanted to end this series of this small series of videos. I had the chance a few weeks ago to cook for a group of nurses and doctors from Bergamo that were hosted in Venice, and it's been a fantastic experience. And I've been speaking a lot with them about the project I've been following for the Istituto Italiano di Cultura. And it's been very nice and sweet because all of them, they knew the Capu, and they said their grandmothers are still preparing this dish. So they gently gave me the original, let's say, recipe of this dish, and we're going to prepare it. Okay, here we are for our last recipe, the Capu, the recipe from Bergamo. The ingredients we are going to use today are cabbage, with which we will make some nice meatballs. This time we're going to do some vegetarian meatballs, even though normally this recipe would request meat leftovers or animal grease. So we will use chickpeas, cheese, eggs for the meatballs, and then the cabbage leaves to roll them, and then we will prepare a tomato sauce. Now we start preparing the tomato sauce. As always, we start putting some olive oil in our pan. Now we will chop the onion. A small onion is enough. Now we add the onion into our oil. After a couple of minutes, we can add our tomato sauce and a pinch of salt. While the sauce is cooking, we will boil some water because we will have to boil the cabbage leaves inside. Before boiling the cabbage leaves, we have to cut a triangle from each leaf. Now we're going to prepare the filling of our capu. We will do it in a vegetarian version using chickpeas. I'll start smashing the chickpeas like this. Our chickpeas are smashed. Now we add an egg. And melt the chickpeas with the egg. Now I add some breadcrumbs. And some grated Parmesan cheese. Now we can chop some garlic to add to our meatball. I chopped the half because it's very big and super tasty. And chop some parsley as well. So here's the garlic. We prepare our fresh parsley leaves. Now we will chop the garlic and the parsley together. Parsley and garlic are finely chopped now, and we add them to our bowl. I'm melting the chickpeas with other ingredients inside. Now I'll taste it to make sure there's enough salt. It's okay. Italian cuisine is like this. You always have to taste. We'll never give you the exact ingredients, but then it's a little bit up to you to get the sensibility of deciding if things are good or not, they have salt enough or not. No. The water is boiling now. We add some salt to the water. And then we will boil the cabbage leaves one by one for a couple of minutes. Here we are. After a couple of minutes, the cabbage leaf has softened, and we put it on a towel so it dries a little bit. Now we will prepare our meatballs with the cabbage leaves. Then we will need some cooking wire and a scissor. Our preparation: we make a small ball. We push it a little bit, and then we close it. Now we cut a piece of cooking wire. And we close our capu. With a knot. And we go on with the other. Our capu are ready, and now we're going to boil them into the water. Now we will boil the capu into the water where we've been cooking the cabbage leaves before. Now we put our sauce on the serving plate we're going to use. After 10 minutes boiling, our Capu are ready, and then we'll put them on our plate. Okay, last step, we put a few drops on top of our Capu, and it's done. In the end, if you wish, you can add a little bit of cheese on top.